Guys, I've got an absolute banger video for you guys here today, and that's going to be us taking a look at my entrepreneurial journey from 2017 all the way up into 2021, which is the time of recording this. It's actually the 16th of December 2021. So guys, honestly, this is probably going to be the hardest video I've ever had to make, not because it's going to be emotionally, just breaking me down or anything like that. Well, it is slightly emotional in terms of what I've been through, that sort of stuff. But it's also very difficult to kind of document your life, because I can't even remember what I was doing last week, never mind 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Because the story starts way before 2017, because that's when I kind of dropped out of university and stuff like that. So if you see me looking over here, please forgive me, because I do have everything kind of jotted down. Well, the highlights, that's what I want to say. I've got the highlights kind of jotted down, kind of wrote down on my computer and stuff like that. But let me kind of take you back to where I was born. So I was born and raised in Sheffield, right? So this is council houses. You've all heard the story. I've kind of grown up in a rough area. Most of my friends are either like locked up, or they're married and gone down that kind of route. It's very kind of split, if you will. Most of my cousins and family and stuff like that are kind of gone down the gang kind of lifestyle and stuff like that. I won't talk too much about that, because I don't want to even be part of that particular realm. I love them and all that, but they can do what you're doing. But I'm over here trying to grow legit business. So in terms of all that sort of stuff, yes, I've seen a lot of crime, a lot of craziness, a lot of drugs, a lot of guns, all that sort of stuff. I don't want to say too much on camera if I get locked up or get some sort of case coming my way. But yes, I've seen all of that sort of stuff as I was growing up. Lived in council houses, poor. My family aren't very rich at all. So my mum passed away as well when I was around 13 years old. I actually remember being sat in class, getting the head teacher, it was actually the deputy head teacher, I'll never forget this. It was actually in geography, and they came knocking on the door, and I was thinking, shit, am I in trouble? Because they asked for Montel Gordon. I was like, can Montel Gordon come to the head office, please? I was like, oh shit, what have I done here? And then unfortunately, turns out that my mum had passed away. It was very terrible time in my life, if you will. Definitely threw me into what I could only kind of describe as silent depression. It was very weird. I went through a very weird time frame from age 13 to 15 or something like that. 15, probably even a little bit longer than that, where I was very quiet, very just in my own shell. Didn't really care about life, didn't want to talk to nobody. Played basketball all my life as well, and continued to play basketball all the way up until I think it's 2017 when I actually stopped playing basketball, stopped university. So let's actually get into the timeline now, guys, because I've gone from being broke to literally making multiple 6 figures a year, and it's absolutely insane. I want to break down the actual timeline so you can kind of get a better gist. Again, there's probably going to be some mistakes in here, guys. The timeline might not quite match up to what you've seen on my YouTube channel, but I'll try to get the most important bits. And the reason why I say that is because, again, it's very difficult. If I ask you, what did you have for lunch 2 Wednesdays ago? You're going to be like, what? I can't even remember what I did yesterday. So I'm having to backtrack my entire life. So let's jump straight into this. So I went to university, right, to study business and ICT, thinking that it was going to be online business. I always wanted to start some sort of business. In school, high school, by the way, I went to King Edward's High School, not King Edward's, King Edward's High School. I also then went from King Edward's High School to All Saints Sixth Form. So I did attend sixth form in the UK, obviously over here in Sheffield. The actual sixth form I went to was absolutely amazing time, actually. That was All Saints sixth form in Sheffield. So if you guys want to do your Google searches, you can see this is where I literally went to high school. I did PE, physical education, biology, and business. Yeah, I was actually predicted to fail business as well, by the way, by one of my teachers called Mr. Jarvis. I'll never forget this. Literally crazy, because now I make more than all my business teachers combined monthly, if you will. Not to brag, but let's talk about this. So went to high school, technically sixth form. It's actually classed as high school over here. So I went to sixth form. It's actually classed as sixth form of high school. I don't care. Nobody cares about that sort of stuff. I don't really care about the education system. But that was actually a good time, to be honest with you. It was a Catholic high school, and the reason why I went there is because I was on a basketball kind of scholarship thing. So I thought I was going to be a professional basketball player, and I was actually quite good. I actually played. I was actually almost called up for England. I don't even want to be one of those guys oh yeah, I could have made it, but I cracked my ankle. But I actually did crack my ankle in one tournament when I was playing for Yorkshire regional tournaments, and that kind of set me back, if you will. I actually had a friend who got into the England squad actually tell me this by the actual coach, if you will. So long story short, I was actually quite decent at basketball. I actually debuted for the professional BBL team at age 16 years old, when I was, I think it was 16 or 17 years old or something like that. Maybe 18. I was maybe 16 to 18 years old. I remember debuting for the actual professional BBL team, which is the best basketball league over here in the UK, which is obviously nowhere near as good as like the NBA. So don't even be like, oh my God, that's amazing. No, it's not. It's literally BBL compared to NBA, not even a comparison, believe me. So anyway, long story short, guys, went to university to study business and ICT for, I think it was 3-year course. It was a 3-year course, right? And this was, I think it was like 2015 to 2018, but I dropped out in my last year, if you will. So in 2000, I think it was actually 2017, 2018 that it was actually 2017. I actually dropped out. No, it's actually 2018 I dropped out, but I was actually planning on dropping out. In fact, I can't remember when I dropped out of university. 2017, 2018. This is what I'm talking about. I can't even remember when I dropped out of uni, but long story short, I did drop out of uni in my 3rd year. I was studying business and ICT, and I was actually predicted to fail business. Prior to that, I actually did quite well on the day of the exams, and I ended up getting like an A in business or something like that. That doesn't mean you have to be smart in business, because everything I've learned in business to this point, I have never even implemented one thing ever. They teach you stuff like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I've never ever used that, like ever. And if I needed to use that, I'd just go onto the internet and just type in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and it's all there. But long story short, dropped out of university. And the reason why I dropped out is because I wanted to be a business owner. I knew that the kind of route that uni was taking me was not the business route. That I could definitely, like, they were teaching me how to create like a CV, and how there was literal class, and this is supposed to be a business, business course to learn how to do business. They were teaching me how to write CVs, how to handle myself in an interview, and how to shake people's hands. I'm genuinely not joking. Like how firm you should hold the hands and how long you should shake for. I was like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. They were even talking about like the body language and stuff like that, and when you should be in an interview. I was thinking, doing an interview, does that mean I have to go and get a job after this university shit? Because I want to start a business. So that's why I kind of like dropped out, and I wanted to start a clothing line. And I remember being in the back of the class, like just being on my laptop looking for suppliers on like Alibaba for like my clothing brand called Claremont Clothing, which didn't actually get started because of lack of capital. So dropped out of university, I believe it was in 2017, I believe it was. Don't quote me on that. That caused, by the way, a massive rift between me and my parents. They were not happy whatsoever. In fact, they've only just started coming around and really believing in me now that I'm making like 24k a month. It took me so long to get here, and it took me actually making £24,000 in a month, multiple months over, for them just to believe me and what I'm doing. I remember back in 2018, so let's jump to 2018 now. So that's when I dropped, 2017, I believe it was, I dropped out of uni, tried to start a clothing line, didn't really get off the ground, so that failed, like almost immediately. It fell flat on its face. I then started watching and like watching a lot of Gary Vee, watching a lot of YouTube videos on entrepreneurship and online business, stuff like that. Came across the usual suspects like Ty Lopez and all those sorts of people. Really listening to like Jim Rohn. I remember listening to Jim Rohn because I remember being in my parents' house, and it was just a lot of it was just very negative environment that I was in terms of like they were just telling me to get a job every day. It was just not a good place to be. I never want to go back to that place ever again. But I remember reading like Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that really changed my life. Rich Dad Poor Dad was probably what set me off on this whole entrepreneur stuff. Even back before I dropped out of university. I think it was actually the book that came first, Rich Dad Poor Dad, that came first. Then I dropped out of uni, and then that's when I started going into Gary Vee and listening to other entrepreneurs. That's what set me off, basically, Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I think a lot of you guys actually had a very similar journey. I then got into dropshipping, right? And the way how I got into dropshipping was I was so broke that I actually literally had to sell. I remember like dropping out of university and having my student loans and stuff like that, and I was really just partying and being a party boy and just going in clubs and just trying to chase girls and stuff like that. So I ran out of money very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. I was still living at home, by the way, at this point. I then had to move out because obviously, well, my girlfriend at the time, we're not actually together anymore. My girlfriend at the time, I had to move out to her house because it was her apartment, should I say. It was like a 2-bedroom apartment, very small, if you will. Bless her, she literally really helped me out. Like, if it wasn't for her, bro, I don't even think I'd actually be here. So big shout out to you if she's ever watching this, 100%. Even though we're not together and whatnot. So I had to move out to her crib because it was so damn hostile at home. I just physically couldn't take it. I remember like having so many fights with my parents, having to run away from home at like 2-3 a.m. or whatever it was one time when we was drinking a little bit of alcohol. Me and my dad had almost got into a little bit of an altercation, if you will. It's crazy, like literally crazy. Then 2018 year rolled round, started doing dropshipping, started my YouTube channel as well, this actual YouTube channel that you're actually looking at. The reason for that was because I just wanted to document my journey as an entrepreneur to see if I could genuinely take me and just take my life and just be a guinea pig. I wanted to guinea pig my life, as in like, can I genuinely become an entrepreneur? Can I genuinely actually quote unquote make it? what happens if you actually listen to all these online people that talk about making money? Are they actually legit? Can you actually genuinely make money? That was the kind of like idea on the whole YouTube channel, as well as listening to Gary Vee and reading his books as well, like Crush It and stuff like that. So he was, recommending starting a YouTube channel. Don't even think about it for like 5 years. So I just started a YouTube channel. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna grow a YouTube channell, see what happens. It's always good to have a brand behind your name anyway. Depending on what business you're doing, you're probably gonna be able to grow a successful business, which is why I'm gonna get into a lot more personal branding on this YouTube channel, because it really is. Personal branding itself is just a really beautiful business model, and it's not really a business model that can be taken away from you, because it's your name, it's you, if you will. So long story short, that's the story for another day. So I started dropshipping 2018. It was actually quite decent, to be honest with you, at first, and then I realized it was actually harder than what I thought. As in, there was a lot of fulfillment you had to do. There was a lot of complaints about the shipping times. Facebook themselves, when you ran ads, they did not like the whole, drop shipping kind of like business model. So, and not only that, but I was selling stuff like Fortnite. Remember Fortnite? Well, Fortnite's still a big thing, but it was like a huge thing back then. Still is a huge thing right now, obviously. Well, I'm not really sure. I don't really follow Fortnite, but you guys get on me. Like back then, it was like a huge booming thing. Everybody was talking about Fortnite. It was like literally massive. So I was drop shipping stuff that was like Fortnite related, way too close, and I actually got a copyright infringement kind of cease and dismiss kind of like email. So I had to kind of like shut down the dropshipping business. And that's when in April 2018, I switched to SMA. Jesus, this was a very difficult time in my life, by the way. I was broke. I started SMA. Well, first of all, I started my YouTube channel with literal no money. Started doing dropshipping. Then I got into debt. Well, dropshipping actually went quite well. Then I actually I made some stupid business moves. And then I ended up with negative £132.71 in my student overdraft. And that's when I started getting into SMA, which, by the way, is 110% a way better business model than dropshipping. I can tell you that for free, 100%, no doubt about that. The only problem with SMA is that it's very difficult to actually land clients when you're first getting started out, and I procrastinated a lot. I was building like my own website. I was trying to like register a business. I was looking into all that sort of stuff. I was worried about tax. I was worried about trying to learn Facebook ads. This went on for about 10 months with nothing significant happening. Not only that, but I was scared of cold calling, and it just wasn't, I don't know, my personality, it just wasn't for me until, well, I thought it wasn't for me, but all that's just negative mindset. That's just a mindset to have that I had at that time. And what I mean by that is I wasn't very an outgoing person or cold calling and stuff like that. I was scared to do it, scared to even launch. So I was actually scared to actually start. And I kind of like procrastinated for like 10 months, even though I was sending out cold emails on blast, like 50 emails a day and stuff like that, on blast with no template. That's probably the reason why. And it took me 17 months. I'm not joking. I was broke for 17 months. I was broke for so long that I literally had to SORN, SORN, my car. That basically means I couldn't even afford to pay tax on my car. I also couldn't afford to pay my phone bill for an iPhone 7. So my credit score absolutely got shot, which is why, by the way, I've just literally today had to put another 6 months down. Like, I'm not even joking. I'll throw the screenshot up. Put another 6 months down on my actual, my apartment here, because my credit score is absolutely shot, if you will. Even though my landlord knows how much I'm pretty much making at this point, I still put it down. He actually technically said I can put down, my monthly rent, but these days I just pay off 6 months in advance. And when I first got this place, I did put 6 months down rent plus bond down on this particular place when I first got it, because of this credit score. So as you can see, this shit really happened. I really went through this shit, guys. I'm not joking. I really went through all of this craziness. So it was around April 2018. I said that I'm gonna start an agency. This is gonna be my 6-figure business, which it actually is. To be fair, I was actually right. But I've said I was gonna do it in 1 year. Bro, it took me 17 years to even land me a decent client. And that was a real estate client from the UK. And they came through my LinkedIn through a funnel automatically. So I created a case study funnel on my LinkedIn. They came through that funnel. And it was actually so funny because I was doing all this outreach, like cold calling, cold emails, Instagram DMs, Facebook video drops to dentists and stuff like that. I remember landing a couple dental clients prior to this. I even had like a hair salon that I actually worked with in Manchester as well. They paid me like £250 or something like that for like 1 month or some shit like that. I think it was actually £250 when I remember it. Yeah, they actually was. And that was my first ever actual money I made from SMA. But other than that, I was doing like trial clients and learning quote unquote learning Facebook ads, which I don't recommend you do. So it took me 17 whole months to land me a decent client. When I say decent client, they paid me £750, and that was on September the 2nd 2019. I will never, ever, ever forget that. I remember screenshotting the actual Stripe payment because they actually came through my automated funnel. Other than this though, I wasn't really making any money. Like, well, technically I was, closing a couple clients, so called small clients on like Instagram DMs. That's how I got my first, hair salon client. Other than that, it was just more like trial clients that I was finding on Facebook, doing Facebook video drops. I was recording like little mini videos and sending them out via DMs on Facebook. Taking me ages to do that. I don't really recommend it these days. Now, let's fast forward real quick. From September to December, didn't really see any kind of like growth or anything like that. It actually ended up losing my real estate client as well. Then in December 2019, that's where my life really started to change, because I actually switched from doing all this crazy outreach and trying to build a personal brand and all that sort of stuff to actually just using Upwork. Well, technically it was Upwork and using a personal brand on LinkedIn. Completely switched into the real estate niche before this. That's when I closed my first client in September 2019. Don't get lost here. Then December 2019, on the very first day of December 2019, I stopped everything and started using Upwork. That's when I landed my very first client. By the way, I started Upwork December 2019. I think it was actually on the 1st. And I remember on the 23rd day, so Christmas Eve's Eve, I was actually watching The Witcher, as in like The Witcher, because I remember I used to play all this stuff on my PS4 before I had to sell it for capital, way back when I started like dropshipping and stuff like that. I sold my iMac and my PS4 to start anyway, but long story short, I was watching The Witcher and I remember getting the offer sent over on my mobile phone. I was going to reach for my mobile phone, but it's not there, it's in the drawer. But anyway, long story short, I got the offer sent over from a client for $600 per month on a 3-month basis, and it was a client in Trinidad and Tobago. And I remember closing them on the 23rd of December, so Christmas Eve's Eve. And that's really where I started to actually start landing clients. And I landed quite a few clients. And I remember closing a client as well the next month in January, and it was actually a real estate agent in Toronto, actually out in Canada. No, excuse me, I don't think it was actually from Toronto. It was actually from Canada, not Canada. Whenever I think of Canada, I just think Toronto, because I've got Toronto friends that I used to play basketball with, by the way. So long story short, that's when I actually started scaling up the agency with using Upwork. And I was actually able to manage to fly out by January the 20th, 2020. I remember going to New York for 10 days, and I went on January the 20th to January the 30th. And this was a huge shock to my parents, because they thought I was just in my room. I don't know, God, I would hate to even think what they thought I was doing in my bedroom for that long, day in, day out, just working. I was actually genuinely grinding. They thought I was just messing about, playing games and stuff like that, waking up late. I was actually waking up before them, going to bed later than them. It's crazy. Anyway, by the time it was January the 20th, I was actually able to fly out to New York City, and that's the first ever holiday I was able to afford by myself ever. Like literally, well, technically there was times before that where I used my student loan to go on holiday, which is stupid obviously. Back in like Ayia Napa days and like, going to Ayia Napa, Party Island, stuff like that, went there 2 times or 3 times actually, to be honest with you. And I remember the last time I was so broke, that's when I ran out of money, and that's when I'll never forget this. I ran out of money in Ayia Napa, and I was literally left stranded on the island, or almost left stranded on the island. And this is what happened. We rented quads, like quad bikes, right? I know it's very laddish at this particular point, very, very laddish, very kind of crazy looking back at it. But long story short, we all, like the whole squad kind of like rented quads, if you will. And to bring the quads back to the rental shop, first of all, to rent a quad, right? To rent a quad, you have to have collateral. As in, like, you have to give them your passport, which sounds crazy when you actually think about it. You have to give a random rental company your passport so that you can get a quad, and then you have to bring the quad back with a full tank of gas in order to get your passport back, so that you can actually, get on the plane and leave, Cyprus and come back to England, if you will. The only problem is that I ran out of money on the holiday. This is how irresponsible I was. I ran out of money on the holiday, and I couldn't even afford to put like 10 euros, which is like £7, into the tank, which is like $12 or something like that. I didn't even have $12 to my name on the flight back. And I couldn't even put gas inside of the quad to then take it back so that I could get my passport, because the rule is you have to make sure the tank is full when you return it back to the rental shop. Couldn't even do that, and I was on the phone to my parents. I was like, oh, please just borrow me this, please just borrow me that. They said nope. Literally said no. Left me for dead on an island. That was I'll never forget this. That was the very moment I swore to myself that I would never ever ask them for anything ever again. And when they ask me for anything, I'm never going to give it them. I know it sounds harsh. I was actually obviously very emotional at that point. Obviously, I don't do that now. I took that back. But I also swore that I would never ever allow them to get into my business, as in like whenever I was so determined to make it, just because of that. That actually lit me. I'm so glad they did that, because that actually lit a fire under my ass, if you will. So I was so determined to prove these dudes wrong, if you will, my parents wrong, that I literally swore to myself that I would, first of all, make it, and second of all, I would never ever tell them what I'm doing, or like allow them to be nosy in my business or help me with anything. I was just gonna be independent, and when they asked me for anything, I was never gonna give it to them. So that's basically kind of like the oath I swore, and I'll never forget that. And I literally had my car parked, my BMW parked on my parents' drive for literally like 17 months or something like that, because I couldn't afford to even pay for the tax or the insurance. Absolutely insane stuff. So yeah, it was just literally parked around. Then I remember flying out to New York in 2020. That's when I actually started making some decent money, if you will. Other than this, I didn't really make that much money. And then prior to this and whatnot, I was struggling. I was closing clients here and there, still getting by, but only just, if you will. That's what I'm trying to say. And then by the time May 2020 came around, I was at 4.7k US dollars with my actual agency from Upwork. And then I kind of like coasted for quite a while. I didn't really do anything other than focus just on Upwork. I just literally quit everything just to focus on Upwork. Just kind of like built out like a creative agency. And it wasn't until April 2021, this particular year. So that from May to April 2021, so May 2020 to April 2021, I didn't really do anything. It was just like, it was quite a decent life. I got myself up to like 4.7k, and the actual high of that was in June, which was like 5.2 or 4.7 US dollars. Don't quote me on that, but you can go back on my channel. But like literally, I was making like 5.2k, something like that. And I kind of like coasted. This is the thing, when you actually start making money, I was coasting now at this point. I thought I was comfortable. I thought I was nice, as a Jamaicans say. I thought I was too nice. I thought I was cool. I started getting complacent, getting a little bit cocky. And it's kind of like coasted, tried to scale, and I was losing clients. I didn't really know what I was doing, to be honest with you. And it wasn't until I remember that time where I quit doing YouTube. There's a time on my channel when I quit doing YouTube, and I just figured out how to do cold emails. I just on my own. I literally just thought, all right, Upwork's working for me. I'm just gonna try and figure out some cold emails. Started figuring out cold emails, and then it took me about 8 months to figure out cold emails. I'm not joking. I still was landing meetings and stuff like that, and I was still landing clients on Upwork, but no real clients were being landed through cold emails by myself, if you will. But I was landing actual meetings through cold emails. Now this is where the hybrid system actually kind of kicks in. So from April 2021, I actually dropped down to 3.1k British pounds in terms of what technically was I was stagnating around that mark anyway. 3 to 4k, 3 to 5k British, but it's actually 3 to just under 5k British pounds, if you will. That's British pounds. I was coasting around there for ages, for literally like a year or something like that, just under. It was actually 11 months. And then in April 2021, that's when I figured out the beautiful, 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 life-changing hybrid system. That's where my life really started to change, if you will. I went from 3.1k British pounds, and I documented this. I said to myself, in April, just lost a couple clients, I think it was. Yeah, lost a couple clients in April. And I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to scale my agency once and for all. It's been so long and I've still not reached 10k US dollars. So I'm gonna get to that infamous 10k per month mark within 90 days. In April, I started this challenge. I hired 2 first line writers, and they were sending out 25 emails per day each. I still have these, by the way. I've actually changed a couple of them multiple times over at this point, but I still have 2 first line writers. But long story short, I figured out the hybrid system, which is use Upwork, stack up money. Then what you do with that money is you actually invest into actually duplicating yourself by having first line writers do your first line writing in your emails. I then close back-to-back ecom clients, back-to-back Upwork clients, and I literally went from 3.1k British pounds all the way up to just under 12,000 US dollars in 24 days out of the 90-day challenge. So I actually went from 3.1k pounds to 8,677 pounds, I think it was exactly, in May. That was my first actual 10k plus US dollar mark, and it was actually 12,000 US, just under 12,000 US dollars, $11,580 it says here, and that's actually correct as well. Then in June, we continued scaling, and we actually hit 10, well, technically in my Stripe, it says 10.1k, but I'm pretty sure there were other payments outside of Stripe in my PayPal. So just go look back on my channel. So that was actually, but technically in just my Stripe account alone, that's 10.1k, that's British pounds as well, 10.1k British pounds. July was a very big month for us. So this was my first ever multiple 6-figure British pound month, which was £16,500. I know it's 16.6k, but I'm pretty sure there was a payment outside of Upwork. Don't call me, excuse me, a payment outside of Stripe. That's when I really started gaining confidence in myself and really started changing people's lives for my coaching and stuff like that. And I'm sure Agency Tramitation released around these particular times as well, but it didn't really, had a very slow start, Agency Tramitation, to be honest with you. And in August, we actually dropped down to around £12,000 as well. So we went from £16,000 to £12,000. I think it was just over £12,000 actually. I think it was like 12.4, 12.3 or something like that. Again, you guys can look back on my Instagram. I've documented all of these with actual facts and figures. So if you don't see any on here, don't worry, just go and take a look at my Instagram. My Instagram is montel.gordon. Then September was my actual first £20,000 month. That's when I started realizing this shit is insane. Well, technically July, when we hit the 16.5k or 16.6k or whatever it was, I think it was just under multiple six figures actually, if you could quote me on that. I think it was just under that. But long story short, that's when life really started to change. When you start making more than like 13,000 British pounds over here in British pounds, or for you, obviously the USD, but over like 13k, that's when you really start seeing a lifestyle kind of like change, if you will. Then September was our first 20k month. 20,000 British pounds, by the way. Then October was 24,000 British pounds. Oh, by the way, I moved into this new apartment in June as well. So June was a very good month for me. So June we hit, 10, I think it was like 11,000 or something like that pounds, to be honest with you, including PayPal and stuff like that. I don't really use PayPal, but you guys can go and watch my videos on the channel, don't worry. So June, that's when I got this beautiful apartment, 1,000 square foot. The funny thing with this apartment as well is that I put down 6 months worth of rent down, plus bond, which is like 5 weeks worth of rent. So it's like 6 months. So it was like 7 months, seven months and 1 week worth of rent down in total, all at once, without even seeing this apartment. And by the time I actually stepped foot in this apartment, I bought this. Well, I technically I put the money down before I even got a chance to see the inside of the apartment, which is absolutely insane. I've just done it again as well today. Put my 6 months rent down literally earlier today, which is crazy. I'm making this video on this particular day. But anyway, long story short, put my 6 month rent down. Before I even got the keys or even stepped foot inside this apartment, I had already made all of that money back and more. Like literally before I could even get hold of the actual keys to this place. Absolutely insane. It was only like a two week time frame, or a week, like 10 days or something like that. I made it all back in like 10 days. Absolutely insane. That was June and July, if you will. So I moved in June the 19th to be exact. And then October, which was a couple months ago, was our first 24k per month mark. That's British pounds. Then in November was our best ever month yet at 24k net profit. But the net profit on, it was actually 24k, and the net profit out of that was 20k. Now December, this is the month that we're in now, has been the quickest we've ever gone from start of the month to making 10k, which was like 9 or 10 days or something like that. And at this particular point, we've actually made over 140k in sales this year, and most of those sales actually came from I would say like 95% of those sales came from like May to December time, not even January, February, March, April. Those were like very small months, if you will. Now, if you're wondering what the next steps are for me, so that's been the journey so far, guys. It's been absolutely insane. I have no degree, first and foremost. I dropped out of university. I was actually predicted to fail business and literally making ridiculous amounts of money at this particular point. I'm literally at a 24k kind of like mark, if you will. The next steps for me is to scale up to 50k British pounds, that is, per month consistently as well. And the way how we're going to do this is we're going to move our agency from more of a done for you service to more of a done with you service, or even more like do it yourself. That's kind of like how I see my agency going. So instead of doing actual Facebook ads for e-com brands, I want to just be able to come into e-com brands and teach them how to do it themselves. So I feel like they'll get better results that way. Well, I'll start introducing is the better word. I'll start introducing more of a consulting side of my agency for like the e-com space, if you will. I still want to be in the e-com space. I still want to run an agency, if you will, like traditional agency. But what I want to do more of is consulting actual e-com brands on how to run the Facebook ads themselves, and have like a community that they pay me on a monthly basis and like one-off fees as well. So that's kind of what I want to get into, as well as helping people actually start their own personal brands as well. I really believe in personal branding. That doesn't mean you have to be an online coach or anything like that. It just means I want to help people. Well, technically, that's how you're going to make money from it anyway. But what I'm more talking about is you don't have to be like a person that teaches how to make money online. You could be more of a niche authority, is what I like to say. I want to help people become niche authorities in a certain niche. So for example, if you've got an e-com agency agency right now. I want to teach you how to leverage YouTube in order to get inbound leads for your agency. That's what I'm talking about right there. That's what I want to help people with. So like the whole personal branding, how to start a personal brand in any niche. So if you want to do like alcohol addiction fixing, I want to help you with that. If you've got like a weight loss program, I want to teach you how to land clients for that, high ticket clients for that. If you've got like a agency, I want to teach you how to, land clients for your coaching business or even your agency itself, if you will. So that's what I want to, do for that. And I want to scale my agency and my consulting business or consulting side of things. It's really weird at this point, but like I just want to merge it all together, if you will, and scale it all up to £50,000 profit per month by the end of 2022, and that's the goal right there, guys. But with that being said, guys, that's all for today's video. I know that this was a long one and kind of a different one. If you do want my one-to-one help, or if you want to inquire about agency traumatization, send me a DM or go to the website agencytraumatization.com, if you will. Or if you want to work with me one-on-one, there are still spots available. That's getting very, very full at this particular point. Obviously it's quite late in December, but we still can take on students and help them scale up and stuff like that. But that's the goal, guys. £50,000 by per month by the end of 2022, and then next year hopefully that's when I'm going to become an actual millionaire. Who knows? Who might even scale way past 50,000 British pounds, which is absolutely even insane. Just even saying that at the age of like 20, I'll be like 26 then. Only just turned 26, next year. So that's actually insane. 26-year-old making 50,000 British pounds. Black kid as well from the hood. Nuts. Not even heard of. Never even been heard of over here where I'm from. Anyway. So that being said, though, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure actually documenting this journey for you guys. Go onto my YouTube channel, go back, watch some of the videos I've actually created. Go look at the struggles I really was going through, guys. You can tell I had like anxiety, I was depressed, I was taking L's after L's after L's for like 3 years. And then I figured out the hybrid system and everything just went boom, which is why I'm very, very confident it can do the same for you, which is why I've got agent traumatization and one-to-one coaching. And the hybrid system has actually been absolutely amazing for me. That being said, though, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Don't want this one to be extremely long at this point, but yeah, hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys in, I was gonna say see you guys in 2022, but I'm gonna record a couple more videos before then. But if I don't, Merry Christmas to all of you guys and Happy New Year. And send me a DM as well if you're struggling with anything or have any questions at montel.gordon actually. So yeah, guys, hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.